This video is over volume of cylinders, cones, and spheres. Our first problem is a cylinder that has a radius of 3 and it has a height of 5. We use our formula pi r squared h, plugging in our radius 3 and our height 5. Solving exponents first, 3 squared is 9, and then multiplying that times the height 5. 9 times 5 is 45. We then multiply the 45 by pi, and the directions tell us to use the fraction 22 over 7, and we end up at 141.4285, bunch more random numbers. The directions tell us to round to the nearest tenth. 4 is in the tenths place. The 2 tells us to round down, so our answer stays 141.4. For our second problem, we have a cone with a radius of 4 and a height of 8. We use our formula pi r squared h over 3, plugging in our radius as 4 and our height, which is 8. We solve the exponents first. 4 squared is going to give us 16. We then multiply the 16 times our height, which is 8, to give us 128. We divide that value by 3 to get 42.6 repeating. And then we multiply that entire number with the repeating decimal by pi. The directions tell us to use the fraction 22 over 7. We end up at 134.09523, on and on and on. But because the directions tell us to round to the nearest tenth, 0's in the tenths place, the 9 rounds up, so we end up at 134.1. For our last problem, we have a sphere, and our sphere has a diameter of 15. Now our first step is to take half of the diameter because we only want the radius. And so half of 15 is 7.5. We're going to use our formula, which is 4 pi r to the third power divided by 3. We plug in our radius, 7.5, and we solve the exponents first. So 7.5 to the third power is going to give us 421.875. We multiply that entire number by 4 to give us 1687.5. We then divide that value by 3 to get 562.5. And then we multiply by pi. The directions tell us to use 22 over 7. And so when we multiply, we end up at 1767.8571, on and on. The last step is to round because the directions tell us to round to the nearest tenth. 8 is in the tenths place. 5 tells us to round up. So we end up at 1767.9 as our final answer.